This is All 32 Picks and IPAs, your NFL and craft beer fancast, with your hosts Adam Emmert, Brendan Schultz, and Jared Tim. Play along at picksandIPAs.com/join. Hooray football! Hooray beer!
This is All 32 Picks and IPAs. I'm Brandon Schultz, and I was the leader from last week with 70 points, tied with my good buddy, Adam Emmert.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a false misrepresentation there when you say you're the leader, yet you're tied. You were co-leader.
Co-leader for the week, leader overall. That's the tiebreaker. So.
Oh, all right. Well, we at least know who's sucking hind tit, and that's none other than Jared Tim.
Yeah, this is a bunch of shit, man. This is one of those weeks where if you did good this last week, you don't know anything about football. That's how I feel about that. So the fact that I scored a 60, this is like golf this last week.
I don't know, because you've been finishing last every week, so I don't know if that helps.
Because I know a lot of football.
I think if you finish well this week, you just threw darts at a board. Like either that or you had dogs pop balloons to pick your game. You know, something. Like there's no way that you use facts, reason, and logic.
That might be a new strategy.
It's funny. However it's set up now.
Yeah.
If you jump in while one of us are still going,
it doesn't
we don't
work.
get your audio. Yeah.
Well, that might be a new strategy. So what do you say? What are we drinking today, gentlemen, before we get into this week's picks?
Well, we are drinking our first beers from the Beer of the Month Club that we joined. And this is a beer from a South Carolina brewery called RJ Rockers. And it's called Dunkulele. And it's a dark wheat ale. And it is tasty. I'm actually really enjoying this beer.
Yeah, pretty good cold weather brew.
Yeah.
Even though it's really not very cold today.
New. Yeah, it was in the 70s or so. But
and because UPS hasn't gotten to my house yet, I am drinking a half tea, half lemonade in honor of the late Arnold Palmer.
All right.
The late Arnold Palmer? Did he die?
He passed away this week.
Ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
You didn't know that, huh?
I didn't. I'm really bummed.
And living under a rock is Adam Emmert. Welcome to the world.
I've had things going on. All right.
Yeah, shit and things.
There's shit and things and stuff.
Man.
All right, guys.
I'm disappointed.
I understand.
You're the golf guy among the three of us, and you didn't know the legend died.
That's not true. I'm the golf guy among the three of us.
Oh, okay.
You are not the golf guy among the three of us.
I know when Arnold Palmer died.
Well, that's fine. But when did you start playing golf?
Right after high school.
Yeah, I started playing when I was 5.
You should be better.
Yep.
You should be better.
I should be. Yeah. I didn't say I had a lot of natural ability. I just said I started early.
Have you ever finished 18 under par?
No.
No. Well, then who's the golf guy among us?
You haven't either.
I shot a 68 on a par 70.
Bullshit. I'm calling bullshit on that. What was it? Was it a par 3, par 70? Was that where all the holes? Like, yeah.
It was down at Village Greens.
You shot a 68 at Village Green.
Yes, sir.
That's going to have to go down.
I'm impressed if that's true.
I've shot under par for 9 a couple times, too, on the front. I've had 33 a couple times.
I've done that on the Cameron side of Buffalo Hill. But
that's not a real golf course, though.
What's that?
I'm kidding.
You said that didn't count as a real golf course? My grandpa helped build that golf course. How dare you? How dare you?
I've done it on the Wii.
Oh, man. All right. Well, let's get back to football instead of golf. I don't know about you guys, but I didn't do any preparation this week since apparently preparation gets you a 70 like I did last week. So I'm winging it this week. How about you, Brandon?
I think that's a good strategy. Well, partly because I did go over to Seattle, and when I make these trips and just go to the games on game day, you can't watch other games, not unless you actually want to enjoy the game that you're watching. When you're at home, it's easy. You can flip through on the commercials. You can you can watch Red Zone, and when you're at the game, you can't do that. So I'm flying blind this week. I have a lot of questions for you guys based on the outcomes of last week's games, because I look at the scores from last week and I have no idea what happened.
I don't either, and I watched a lot of them.
It's time to lock in this week's picks.
Speaking of things that you have no idea what will happen, let's start off with the first game, the Thursday night game, which I've only picked once correctly all year to this point. Dolphins at Bengals. Jared, you just saw the Bengals up close and personal. What do you think?
I saw the Bengals. I think they have a good scheme on defense. What they do is they need to finish in the fourth quarter, but the Dolphins, coming off of squeaking one out in overtime against the Browns, I got no faith in this team, no faith in their offense, especially no faith in their defense when the Browns can actually hang points. I'm going Cincinnati. They're coming off of a tough loss at home. They got another game at home against a lesser opponent. I'm going Cincinnati.
This is one of the top 3 blowout picks among user consensus this week. And I think a big reason for that is exactly what you mentioned, Jared, with the Dolphins just barely squeaking by the Browns and the Dolphins going on the road where they also haven't performed well to this point. So Bengals, even though it's a matchup of 2 1-1 teams, 89% going with the Bengals to the 11% with the Dolphins. I agree. I'm going Bengals.
All right. Well, I'm going with the 89% as well because fuck the Dolphins. I hate that team. I hate them so much. Their offense stinks. And like you said, Jared, I mean, they let Cleveland hang around somehow, like all game. I couldn't figure that one out for the life of me. I thought they were going to choke that one away just to screw me over. I don't want to have to root for the Dolphins, so therefore I am picking against them. Bengals all day for me. All right, moving on to another couple teams here that we probably all don't care to watch that much because, man, talk about basically the battle of the anti-clutch as far as these two teams are concerned. Indianapolis Colts go on the road to take on Blake Chucker Bortles, Brandon. Who are you taking Blake at home?
The Jaguars 0-3 against the 1-2 Colts. I don't have a lot of confidence on the Colts, and they're going on the road to Jacksonville. This is a weird one because in week 1, the Jaguars, they just allowed the Packers to just edge them out by a field goal. And I think that the Colts, I don't think they're as good a team as the Packers. So I could see why people might pick the Jaguars on this game. If they're going to lose 3 in a row, I feel like I have to keep picking their opponent until they show me they can actually win. I'm going with the Colts, 70% user consensus to the Jaguars 30.
Wow, I'm going to disagree with that. I mean, when I watched the Indianapolis game last weekend, Andrew Luck's arm seemed to be a little bit, under his normal average. He didn't have the arm strength that I've seen him have, and I think it might be because of that shoulder injury. But one good thing I saw from Jacksonville is they finally generated some turnovers. I mean, obviously, that's going to be a little easier when you're playing Flacco and the worst 3-0 team in football at this point. But also, they got a field goal blocked, which would have won them the game, and one of Bortles' interception was tipped at the line of scrimmage. Another one was tipped by a defender. So they should have won that game. They should have had their first win against the Ravens. The Ravens should have had their first loss. I do think that Jacksonville is due for a win, especially at home. And Indianapolis' secondary is still non-existent. So Blake Bortles is going to turn this around. It's going to be this game. I got Jacksonville at home.
This feels dirty. I agree with Jared on the first 2 picks. Basically,
you're going to score low.
What you said on the whole idea of the Colts secondary, it is still really bad. I don't know how San Diego coughed up that game to the Colts. Well, actually, I do know how they failed to cover T.Y. Hilton. I mean, they're one big weapon, and they couldn't do that. Also, I don't see Frank Gore having another big day in this matchup. But does that mean I feel great about picking the Jags? Absolutely not. Blake Bortles is a fourth quarter meltdown waiting to happen. I understand in this game there's a couple that were tipped and all that, but basically his MO is play pretty well through 3 quarters and then chuck picks in the fourth. And that's not a winning
formula. Is he the
formula.
next Carson Palmer?
He's trending. He's trending. He's going to need, this is year 4 for him. You should have that kind of cleaned up by now. And it's still a problem for him. He's got the turnover bugaboo, but I'm taking the Jags at home because I don't think they're 0-3 bad, but they're pretty bad. All right, guys, moving on to Bills at Patriots. A surprising upstart Bills. They go and lay the wood to the Cardinals last week. We all saw that one coming, right, guys? So now they go on the road to take on the Patriots. We all got Bills. I know we do, Brandon.
Gosh, I would love to take the Bills on this. And actually, had they lost to Arizona, I may be more inclined to take them against the Patriots. I don't know why that is, but I just feel like they should at least get one win in the first 4 games. Yet now that the Patriots are 3-0 and Belichick, I don't know what kind of voodoo, how many times can you sell your soul to the devil more than once? I feel like, how many souls does Belichick have to sell? Because,
well, he's stolen a bunch from a lot of other coaches, so he's been selling those too.
Well, I'm pretty sure he's already stolen Rex Ryan's soul, because he seems to own Rex Ryan when it comes to the Bills. And the Patriots at this point are not a team that I can pick against. They could have Julian Edelman playing quarterback in this game, and I think I still have to pick them, especially after seeing what they did shutting out Houston last week. Going with the Patriots, 87% with the Pats, 13 with the Buffalo Bills.
Look, I'm not high on Buffalo after this game at all. They needed 4 Carson Palmer interceptions just to win this game.
And a muffed punt.
And
snap.
a muffed punt. I mean, Arizona's
Or field
front
goal.
7 looked completely pedestrian against the run, their pass rush, you name it. It was terrible. Plus, it was a long road trip. I don't see this team as being good just because they beat Arizona. Arizona struggled mightily. And I have said I am not going to pick against New England until they lose a game. And they have done it with anybody at quarterback. And frankly, Rex Ryan keeps talking about Bill Belichick. Just shut up, dude. Just shut up.
He can't help himself, man. He's been doing it for, 10 years now? I mean, it's like, he is a little like Trump. He just can't help himself. Like, he's got to say something about Belichick, and it always ends up being to a detriment to him. But I think, Jared, this week, Bill Belichick is going to start your mom at quarterback and still win.
She'll get her first NFL win.
Look, basically, first couple weeks, you just were like, Patriots, Belichick. And I was like, yeah, but, this and this and this and this. No. Patriots, Belichick. Like, that's it. That's it. That's all it is. And Rex Ryan is, I don't know what his record is against Bill Belichick.
It's horrible.
But I'm pretty sure it's capital P, capital U, capital TRID. It's awful. So I'm going Patriots with this one. And that seems easy to me, whether it's Garoppolo or Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, good luck to folks.
Edelman.
Good luck to folks if they're going to try and pick the 1 or 2 Patriots losses throughout the season, because that's all they're going to get. And you may as well just bite the bullet, no matter how much you dislike the Patriots, and go ahead and lock in your picks for New England for the rest of the season.
So basically you're saying once Tom Brady comes back from being rested up in Italy this week, he's gonna come tanning in the nude with his supermodel wife. He's gonna come back and rip it up.
I'm not saying they're going to go 16-0, but I think they're probably going to go 14-2. And what's the point in trying to pick those 2 losses?
It's a good point.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's almost like trying to pick the Jags 2 wins. Like, it's
right.
about as hard.
It's futile.
Speaking of another team that has yet to win, the Cleveland Browns go on the road to the Washington Redskins, Jared. The Redskins and Giants back and forth. There was like 49 lead changes in the fourth quarter. Captain Kirk comes through while Eli ends up making the big mistake. While Cleveland puts up a pretty decent fight against Miami, down to their 3rd string quarterback, and Terrell, the Swiss Army knife Pryor, doing a little bit of everything. Who you got?
There's one game every single week that I pick, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm not going to watch it. This is it.
This is on the not watch list.
Don't give 2 shits, man. Washington and against the Giants last week, it was who was trying to lose that game more. Cleveland still sucks. They did show a lot of heart, and I'd really like Cleveland to win this game just because they have a lot more heart, I think, than the Redskins do. The only player worth noting in this game is maybe Jordan Reed. He always shows these flashes of greatness at tight end, and so because of him, I'm going with Washington at home.
Well, I saw Deshaun Jackson just crumple yet again. He goes down. I look at the person I was watching the game with. I was like, yeah, Deshaun Jackson's hurt again. Shocker. So one of Kirk Cousins' big weapons. Cousins does not have the consistency that you look for in a starting quarterback. And he actually pulled it together for one game last week. That leads me to believe he's not going to pull it together for the second week. And I really think Hugh Jackson is a very creative coach. I think he's going to outcoach Jay Gruden. He's going to coach circles around him. And I am taking the Browns on the road to beat the Washington Redskins.
Adam Emmert among the 10% going with the Cleveland Browns this week. It could be a sneaky pick. I considered it myself as being one of those kind of sneaky picks that might get you ahead in the standings, but I don't know, with that many people going Washington, I have to be among the 90% going Redskins.
So basically, if 90% of the people jumped off a cliff, you would too. Is that the logic here?
I would think that there must be a pretty good reason for jumping off the cliff.
That could be a good pick going with Cleveland, though. I actually struggle with this pick. I was like, well, Washington, just because it's Cleveland.
When there's that many people going with Washington, a team that I don't have a lot of confidence in, and like you said, Jared, that I saw a Browns team that does actually have heart. It's making me question the 90% and thinking that I might be on board with a Browns win here because I don't think that they're going to be an 0-16 team. I know a lot of people in their survival pool, their strategy right now is to pick anybody that plays the Browns. I think that's a bad strategy because this could be the week that the Browns pull it out and win on the road in Washington.
Well, maybe I persuaded you from the 90%.
No,
Join us at a 10%, Brandon.
Okay, I will.
All right, there we go. All right,
I'm far enough ahead of you that I can take some chances now.
This reminds me a lot of our high school years. You were very impressionable. It was easy. All right, going on to an AFC South matchup, and this is a game that, with the news that J.J. Watt is out possibly forever at this point.
For the season.
I think he could be out possibly forever.
Back injuries are tough.
Yeah.
That's one thing we do know.
And not that I'm rooting for that. You all know I love J.J. Watt. I think he's been the MVP the last couple of years. But basically, this is a difficult game. Titans at Texans for me. Basically because I watched that Titans game a little bit last week against the Raiders. And that Raiders defense is just not great. And Mariota did not do what he needed to do against that defense. I expected him to really tear them up a little bit, but I think the big problem is he really truly doesn't have any weapons on the outside, and I maybe misunderestimated that. And then the fact that Delaney Walker was out further compounded that problem. Although the Texans, on the other hand, losing the heart and soul of your team, and a team that got blanked last week by the Patriots, I'm taking the Titans, Jared.
You know, this is kind of a confusing matchup, especially since J.J. Watt is out. You're right. He's the heart and soul of that team. And with him being gone, it seems like this is going to be a completely deflated team. And when you look at Tennessee, they don't have a very good run defense, and they give up a lot of these underneath throws. They don't have very tight coverage, and teams seem to dink and dunk them to death. And if there's one thing that this Houston team with Bill O'Brien, with Brock Osweiler, they like to dink and dunk. That's what they thrive on. They don't go downfield very often. So that's going to be a really interesting matchup to watch is Tennessee's defense against this offense. But that being said, this offense failed to score any points. They didn't score a single freaking point. And that to me is ridiculous. And I can't figure out if this is, Brock Osweiler didn't have the best game. Throws one pick to Jamie Collins and another one to Malcolm Butler on a route that he seems to jump every single game. So I'm going Tennessee because Houston, I'm sorry, man. I think they're done for the year. And O'Brien is not a good coach, not a good play caller.
I think there's something to this idea of the emotions leading into this game. But I also think when you look at the points, that the Titans can't score any points either. You mentioned the Texans. The Titans are 31st in the league in scoring points. But do you know who's number 32? It's the Houston Texans. And I am going against my heart this week. I think it is going to be emotional. I think the Titans pick up a win on the road. Both these teams get to 500. And the other part of this that kind of make this, again, going back, there's a lot of games this week where user consensus is really skewed. 88% with the Texans. And I think that is way too high. I think the 12% with Tennessee is way too low. I'm going to help bring that up a little bit by going with Tennessee.
So, pro tip, everybody choose Texans. After all three of us choose the Titans. Okay, Brandon, let's talk a little bit about our beloved Seattle Seahawks on the road to take on the New York Football Jets. I honestly have a bad feeling about this game. I really do.
I got a good one.
Yeah? Is it a warm fuzzy, Jared? Tell me all about your good feeling.
Look, the Jets turned the ball over some 8 times last game, and they blew it all over the field. That was absolutely terrible. They're going to have to try to rebound at some point. The Seahawks hate that 10 o'clock start. If Russell Wilson wasn't a gimp at this point, I'd probably pick the Seahawks, but I do like the Jets defense. I mean, they only gave up 24 points to the Chiefs off of 8 turnovers. That's not bad. And a few of them were special teams. So I'm still pretty high on this Jets defense as long as they can play clean football. And having to travel across the country, I'm going Jets. Yeah.
You're all in after that the come to Jesus meeting that the Jets apparently had, huh, Jared?
I don't know about any meeting, but I don't like the Seahawks. So yeah, I'm going Jets.
Well, it's not you're in the lower quarter, 26% going with the Jets, 75 that math doesn't add up, so maybe we'll say 74 going with the Seahawks in this week, but I'm going with the majority on this one. I'm sticking with Seattle.
Yeah, definitely picking the Hawks, but this is one I don't feel good about. This is one of those classic games where the Seahawks score 37 points last week. Everybody's feeling good. Go to the East Coast against a team that played, historically bad the week before. They have the one thing that matches up against your biggest weakness, and that's the defensive line versus our offensive line. And our starting quarterback is a bit hobbled. And you put all that together, I don't like this game at all. I really don't. And if it were me, I'd put in Trevon Boykin. I'd just say, throw in the towel and be like, whatever. We're going to go to the bye the following week. We're going to get our quarterback healthy, and then we're going to rattle off a bunch of wins and go to the Super Bowl. But
when I'm picking this game, my logic isn't necessarily logical by any means.
No,
I don't think that the Jets are a better team talent wise. That's for sure. But it just seems like one of those games you guys are just going to lose for some reason. Like you haven't played really good teams, and you guys typically start off slow throughout the year. And it seems like once you finally come up with a team and your quarterback is hobbled, it just seems like a game you're going to drop. Just because.
I'm not sure the Jets are a really good team. I think they're one of those middling teams. Like they're a Bengals, Jets, Kansas City, Texans before J.J. Watt's injury. Those are all kind of the same team, right?
Yeah.
Good, not great. And
they're not top 5. They're below that. They're in the next tier.
Right. So, well, anyways, if you want to hear more about that, tune into the Seahawkers podcast. Brandon and I break down that entire game. There are some advantages for the Seahawks in this matchup, and we get into that in a little more detail. So be sure to tune in there.
Did you just
Let's go
say
to NFC North, Brandon? Detroit Lions, after getting just smoked by Aaron Rodgers in the first half of their game last week, take on the Bears, who I think are starting to sign people from the old XFL at this point because everybody's injured on that defense.
I still can't get over the fact that you just said good, not great. I feel like we're doing a Pete Prisco analysis on the Jets.
Yeah, man. I definitely. I was just picking up. Look, when I know that I need to say something, less than quality, then I go with good, not great. Anything Pete Prisco, and that's where I was going there.
You can say it. It's lazy. That's fine.
Yeah, it was lazy. Sorry.
Well, I'm going to be lazy on this one and go with the user consensus, 86% going with the Lions. I'm surprised it's even in double digits for the Bears. Maybe that's because they're at home. Maybe people aren't convinced that the Lions are all that great, being at 1-2. But 15% with the Bears surprises me a little bit. Going Detroit.
Yeah, I'm going Detroit too. I mean, Detroit's not good in man coverage, but it doesn't matter in this game.
Yeah, let's just not talk much about this game.
Yeah.
Detroit is pretty easy. Yeah, it's good, not great. Okay, one more game till we talk. Do we always talk beer or winners first? I always forget.
Beer first.
Beer. Okay. I couldn't hear you, so I'm just going to go with whatever I decide. Beer?
Yes, beer first.
Okay,
beer first.
All right. Carolina Panthers 1-2, not leading their division, going against the division leading 2-1 Atlanta Falcons, Jared. The Falcons are hanging points like it's going out of style. Cam Newton gets pummeled last week, 8 sacks. The wheels on the bus have come off. You think that they can get it turned around against Atlanta?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Atlanta is hanging points like it's going out of style, but it's going to go out of style. The same exact thing happened to him last year. It happens every year to these high-flying teams. I mean, we knew that them against the Saints was going to be a super high-scoring game, which none of us were really going to pay much attention to. And it was terrible. It was a bad game. I didn't watch it. But Carolina, I mean, they weren't as bad of a team as they showed that they were last Sunday. I mean, Adam, you and I were talking about Cam Newton before this, and you said at first, you were just like, Cam Newton's just going for the home run ball every single time. And he does. When he got that safety, he held on to the ball for what seemed like 20 seconds before he took that sack. And it was terrible. He had 1 to 2 underthrows on deep balls, and, you know, their 2 losses were against good defenses, and Atlanta doesn't have that. They just don't. I think Carolina is going to win this game because this is the first time Atlanta is actually going to come across a defense. So I got Carolina.
This is the first game they're coming across a defense. They got their, well, Tampa, okay defense. I think the jury's still out on that one, but they played Oakland and they played New Orleans, 2 really bad defenses that they got their win. That's how the Falcons got to 2-1. And like you mentioned, Jared, the Carolina Panthers, when I look at their loss, a loss to Denver, really good defensive line, a loss to Minnesota, another really good defensive line. Then I look at Atlanta. Nah, not so much. That's what leads me to believe that Carolina is going to bounce back this week. 68%, which I think is a little low, but 68% going with the Panthers. Falcons 32% going with Carolina.
Wow, I can't believe you guys don't believe in this Atlanta Falcons attack. They're on a historic pace, guys. More points than anybody ever. This is Matt Ryan's amazing. Julio Jones off the chart. Oh, wait. They played the 3 worst defenses in the league in a row. And I know you just said the Tampa defense, the jury is still a little bit out.
No.
I think they've given up, if I'm correct, and I didn't look it up, but this is going to be close, 72 points in the last 2 games.
Yeah.
Because they gave up 40 to the Cards, and I think it was 32 last week. So yeah. This Tampa team, not good. And that defense is historically bad for them, even though they do have some talent there. I can't quite figure that one out. So they've played the 3 worst defenses in the league, managed to win 2 of those in shootouts. They go up against Luke Kuechly and company. Good night. That's done, man. Carolina all the way. I can't believe the user consensus isn't higher, Brandon.
I'm a little bit surprised too. So maybe we'll be picking up a win on the third of the league, or we fall farther behind. I tend to think the former.
I don't really mind Atlanta fans getting really, really happy about this and people getting excited about it because, man, they are just going to be shit on like a brick, man.
So you like the idea that you build them up and then knock them real down?
Especially with Atlanta. Screw these guys.
Isn't that what happened last year? Didn't they have a great record?
Yeah. They were like 6-0 and then didn't win another game for about 8 to 10 weeks.
That's funny. All right, man. Let's talk beer.
Next up, this week's beer review.
We're drinking today is the Dunkulele, which is harder to say than you might think. Took me a few tries to get that down. From RJ Rockers Brewing Company. Let me tell you a little bit about RJ Rockers Brewing Company. While riding a chairlift high atop a mountain in Pocatello, Idaho, founder Mark Johnson had an epiphany. Why not start your own brewery and have free beer for life? And 15 months later, that dream became a reality. RJ Rockers Brewing Company opened its doors in Spartanburg, South Carolina in April of 1997. Year we graduated from high school, Brandon.
Well, yeah. Man, you guys are old.
Oldish. Yeah, old. On a mission to provide delicious handcrafted beer to good people of the upstate. The brewery now anchors the west end of downtown Spartanburg, affectionately and appropriately known as the Grain District. They host tours and tasting and hoppy hours every Tuesday through Saturday, and with over 16,000 barrels of capacity. They're brewing up the beer in big time there. And this beer itself here, it's 6.2 by alcohol content, so stiff buzz early in the day here as we day drink and do the podcast. But the Dunkulele is brewed with dark caramel and roasted versions of barley and wheat. Dunkulele is a dark wheat ale that contains a nice silky mouthfeel without hiding any of the yeast esters that make this beer unlike anything else in their lineup. A slight clove and banana character come into the aroma and flavor of this beer by way of its German-rooted fermentation. A perfect beer for a crisp, cool autumn evening.
A yeast ester?
You're a yeast ester.
Anybody know what that is?
No, but I'm proud that I was able to say it as I went through that, because I didn't pre-read that. That almost tripped me up. But a tasty beer. It's very rich. It's almost chocolatey to me.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, these dark wheat ales are pretty good. They're really good for cold weather. But yeah, it's a little chocolatey, I think.
And I usually do not like wheat ales. I've never had a dark one though. So that this for a dark beer, which I'm generally not a fan of, this is actually really tasty. I would rate this fairly highly overall.
My main problem with this beer is that it's dwelling on the ukulele, and I can't stand that instrument just because it's been so freaking over popular in about the last 3 to 4 years.
Well, Brandon Jared just moved to Portland, start playing the ukulele, and you'll be cool too.
Yeah, that's just it, man. I can't get it. No.
Brandon, how was your beer?
I told you I'm drinking the lemonade this week because UPS.
Arnold Palmer, the guy that you didn't know died?
I didn't know he was drinking the Arnold Palmer either. Yeah.
Yeah.
But a good beer. I think it was a great way to start out with this Beer of the Month club. Yeah. I'm a fan. This is good stuff. All right, let's get back to the picks here, fellas. And Raiders on the road to take on the Ravens. Raiders beat the Titans last week, mainly because Parrish Cox sucks. And I know when you say it like that, it sounds like, but he's pretty bad. I'll say it that way this time. Brandon, I watched the Ravens basically play the battle of the anti-clutch against the Jags last week. I think it went in series at the end of that game. A Bortles pick, a Flacco pick, and then a Bortles pick. And the Ravens somehow get out of there with a win and are 3-0. Who you got?
Oh, you're going to make me go first on this one.
Yeah.
Flacco against the Raiders defense, a Raiders defense that continues to, I guess they shut down maybe it was just the fact that they finally, maybe this is the week that the Raiders defense gets right against the Titans team. But it came down to the very end, right? The Titans had a chance to get in the end zone and tie it up at the end of the game. They couldn't do it. I don't know if this is one of those games that helps build confidence for a defense like the Raiders. I know I'm waiting for it to happen. I just don't know when it's going to be. And for them, the Raiders haven't shown that they can. What did they play in Tennessee? So I guess they did kind of fly across the country. They have to do it again. I'm trying to rationalize a way to pick the Raiders in this one, and I just see myself picking the Ravens. Even it's close, but user consensus 62% with the Ravens. Maybe a lot of us are just seeing that 3-0 record and going, "Oh, they must be good this year." So let's pick the Ravens. But the Raiders, I don't know if that one showing against the Titans is enough for me yet to pick them. So I'm going Baltimore.
You know, the Raiders have needed a lot of help from big mistakes from the other team's offense and turnovers just to win those two games. And Baltimore, like I said before, and I think we've said before, is the worst undefeated team in football. But these back-to-back long road trips with a defense that doesn't travel or stay at home very well, I'm going Baltimore just because I don't know.
Okay.
I haven't seen enough from the Raiders. I think their offense can be good. They can run the ball okay, but they ran the ball okay against a Titans defense that doesn't necessarily play very good run defense. And so I don't think they're going to run the ball as well against Baltimore, and that doesn't translate on the road. That's why I'm going with the worst undefeated team in football.
You know, the Raiders have kind of run the ball on every one of their opponents so far this year, and I think Latavius Murray has actually played very well. I watched that Derek Carr to Amari Cooper connection last week, and my goodness, those guys are pretty dang good. I mean, as a tandem, no doubt about it. Here are the 3 Baltimore wins. Buffalo, Cleveland, Jacksonville. None of that inspires confidence for me. I hate anti-clutch Flacco. I hate the Ravens. And I kind of dislike the Raiders too, but I'm going Raiders on this one just because I feel like Derek Carr is less anti-clutch than Joe Flacco.
I don't know if you've realized this, Adam, but you've picked 4 road teams in a row, and I think it's about to be 5.
I'm about to pick 6.
You are a pick 6.
Well, I don't know. Did you pick Titans over Houston? You did.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. This is
I
like
picked the Browns over the Redskins. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 already that I've picked road teams. I'm about to pick 2 more.
This could be an interesting week.
This is the league. Who freaking knows? I certainly don't. Don't bet on my picks. All right, Denver Broncos on the road to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the third worst defense in the NFL. Jared, these are your Broncos. Talk to me.
Look, Tampa Bay has no pass rush whatsoever. That's good for our young quarterback trying to figure things out. They're a turnover machine. Their secondary is not very good at all. And they gave up 37 points to the Rams. That's not good. The Broncos are plus 32 points in the fourth quarter. That bodes well for us on the road, at home, no matter what. Now, I'm not one of these irrational people who's like, oh, Trevor Siemian, he is the next John Elway. He's not. He's not very accurate on first down, second down. He puts us in a lot of bad positions. The Bengals stacked the box with 8 or 9 guys. And then we finally started to open up the playbook, which is a good thing. But Simeon's still got a lot to prove on this Broncos offense, but I'm going with them on the road because Tampa Bay's defense is that bad, and our secondary and our pass rush is not going to bode well for Jameis Winston.
The second best pick in last year's draft out of quarterbacks.
Is this the time, Adam? Do we promote Seaman to I don't know what's a rank above any rank above Seaman? I don't know if you can
above Jizz.
Can you promote him to captain now? I don't know if it's time to do that.
You're the Navy guy. You should know the ranks of these things.
I know, but I know there's lots in between. I'm just having a hard time. But
figure it out because I don't know any of them. Maybe we can call him Master Seaman. How about that?
Not yet. He's not there yet. He's got a long ways to go. I know there's a lot of people in Broncos. Semio, he's the answer. He's not yet. I mean, he looked good on the road, but he's not quite there.
I think Rear Admiral lower half is fun.
Yep, that's the one. So
wow.
Are you taking the Rear Admiral, or what are you doing this week, Brandon?
I will take the Rear
Admiral. You've slipped into the lower half now.
I will get behind the Rear Admiral this week, and because a lot of people are getting behind the Rear Admiral, 92%. In fact, user consensus going with the Broncos over the Buccaneers in single digits, 8% at home. But yeah, the Broncos are going to take it to 4-0.
I can't even talk, man.
Just hurry up. Let's move on. This is terrible.
Freaking hilarious. All right. Well, the Seaman had some smooth sailing last week. He really did play well. Throwing 4 touchdowns and all that. I mean, give him credit. Definitely, but again, like you said, Jared, I'm kind of reserving judgment still.
We'll see.
The one thing about the Broncos defense that does concern me a little bit, giving up about 48% of their third down conversions, but against famous Jameis, who struggled mightily against the Cardinals defense, I think he's going to struggle heavily against this defense too. I'd love to pick Tampa Bay, but unfortunately, their defense really is that bad and giving up a lot through the air. And I think the Rear Admiral's going to have himself a great game,
especially in the lower half of this matchup.
Exactly. So, and remember when I said I thought they'd given up 72 points in the last 2 games? It's actually 77. They're a really terrible team on defense. Broncos, that one's easy for me. All right, guys, Dak Prescott and America's team go on to take Chip Kelly in his imaginative offense. Is that what it's still called? I don't know. After watching that last week, I'm not sure what to call that. Brandon, who you got?
Knowing that you've taken 7 road teams in a row now, it makes this pick a little bit easier for me because I can't go against that many home teams. I don't believe with the home field advantage, you can have that many home teams losing this week.
What
And
if the
this
home
is-
teams are all bad?
Well,
Like,
and
I
that's-
mean, bad.
that's where I'm iffy on this one. I don't know if who have the Cowboys beaten so far? I know they beat the Redskins on the road, but I can't get behind Washington being a good team. They've beaten Chicago at home. Chicago's not a good team, and they played the Giants close. I don't know what the Cowboys are at this point. And I know the 49ers, they're not great, but they did beat the Rams at home. And now they're back home and they're playing the Cowboys, which I'm not ready to say that they're a great team. They seem okay. Dak seems okay. But for me, when I look at the schedule and see that many road games, this seems like an opportunity to go with the 19%, going with San Francisco.
Wow.
81% with the Cowboys.
You just talked yourself into a loss, dude.
Yeah,
Because basically, I know what the Cowboys are. They're a team that can run the ball, and Dak Prescott doesn't throw picks. And I know that Blaine Gabbert is terrible. I know that Chip Kelly offense is terrible. Defense is terrible. I think this is an easy pick here. For me, it's Dallas all the way.
Yeah, so I'm not going to... Brandon, I'm with you. I don't know about this Dallas team. I mean, they've beaten a couple of crappy teams, and then they lost to a mediocre Giants team. Dak Prescott, to me, is this one-read guy, and then he'll take off and run. But they run the ball really well, which on the road, that travels. I actually struggled with this pick, but in the long run, Adam, you're right. He doesn't turn the ball over. So if that one read's not there, he'll take off and run. Whether he loses a couple yards or he gains 15 with his feet or he makes a nice throw on his first read, that's fine. I'm going Dallas. I don't like it a lot. And I wouldn't be surprised if they lose, but yeah, I'm going to pick Dallas on the road.
Even with Des Bryant and a macrofracture in his knee?
Sure.
Okay. Just bringing up more stuff.
All right, Adam. So the Dallas Cowboys, they're about middle of the pack. They're 12th in rushing yards allowed on defense. But can you name the starting running back for the three teams that they've faced so far? New York Giants. Who's the starting running back?
Jennings.
There you go. Okay. How about Washington?
That would be, wait for it. I can picture him, but I can't think of his name.
It's that guy with the helmet and the jersey and with the number on the back.
That guy. Yeah. What's it? It's not Parker. I know it's not Parker. What is the heck is his name? Every time I hear his name, I'm like, oh, that guy. Right.
Alfred Morris isn't there anymore either, so it's not him.
No.
I forgot who we're trying to figure out who it is. It's Washington,
the running
right?
backs.
Matt Jones. Matt Jones is the running back for Washington, right? At least the one
that's
with...
because he has a generic ass name. That's why I can't ever remember it.
And I don't think there's any way that you'll get the Chicago starting running back. I don't know if they have a starting running back. My point is the Dallas Cowboys defense have not faced as good of a running team that I think the 49ers have an okay running team with Carlos Hyde, and I think that's going to be the reason why they get this win over the Dallas Cowboys.
I don't think the wine and cheese crowd is going to push the Niners over top in this game.
No, but he makes a solid point with that running offense.
So is wine and cheese.
I did struggle with that pick, but I'm not going to watch it.
All right. Let's talk about people who don't struggle, Brandon. Let's talk about winners.
Let's talk about winners, and we have two people on top of the leaderboard after week 3. We got ABH IPAs 222 and Chiro Hawk. Now, those are your two people with 450 points. And as we look at the weekly winners for week 3, I see another ABH IPAs 222. Got 150 points along with Polly Lockett Dream Pods. And I'm not convinced if this is going to be a legitimate win for ABH IPAs 222, because when I see a username like that, I think that there must be in a bad week like we just had. He probably has 221 other accounts, and 222 was the one that it took just to get 150 points this past week. So I'm questioning the legitimacy of the win this week, because that was when I looked at the score differential, ABH IPAs 222 came out on top. Congratulations.
That's hilarious. I think you're right. There's got to be a theory for getting 150 points this week. Like I don't know. Maybe you sacrifice kittens to Satan. Like, I don't know what it is that you do to somehow get 150 points, but that was ungodly.
We don't know football. That's what I know.
All right, guys, let's go on to an NFC West showdown. The division-leading Los Angeles Rams take on the Arizona Cardinals, Jared. We just saw the Cardinals get spanked down by the Bills.
Uh-huh.
We also saw the Rams throw up 37 points last week.
Uh-huh.
We got.
I struggled with this one, too. I haven't seen very much out of the Rams pass rush, especially last week. They didn't generate a lot, but God, Arizona just couldn't get out of their own way. I don't know who's going to win this game. These AFC or NFC West matchups, they're a coin toss. And so I literally tossed a coin, and it showed up as Arizona.
Oh, okay.
That's my pick.
Well, it's more than a coin flip's chances as far as user consensus goes. 81% going with the Cardinals to the 19% for the Rams, even though they are leading the division in the NFC West. And I had a hard time. I feel like if I pick the Rams, maybe it would jinx them into losing. And so I kind of go that way. See, this is a very superstitious pick for me. I'm just going to go user consensus, pick the Cardinals over the Rams. But is this the week, Adam, that quarterback Carson Palmer goes down for the season?
Well, see, and that's my big concern because that Rams pass rush is fairly ferocious. I mean, they're a tough defensive line to face. And look, the Cardinals have been mistake prone throughout this season, and they look a lot more like the team that choked away an NFC Championship game than they do the team that was kind of going gangbusters throughout the majority of the season last year. But there's a part of me that also says a Bruce Arians coach team isn't going to come off an embarrassment like last week and just lying down. I'd like to think that there is something Bruce Arians can do to shake up this team to get them on the winning path. And I think he found it. He fired their long snapper and told him to grow up. That's going to be the difference.
Maybe you need to fire Carson Palmer and tell him to get younger.
Yeah, they don't have anybody better is the problem at quarterback.
Well, why would they need him? Because they're going to have Carson Palmer for another 2 years. It's going to be great.
I thought it was 3 years even.
Man, this is a really tough pick for me. In fact, I left it blank until this exact moment. Sticking with the road. I'm going with the Rams. Because fuck it, why not? My picks suck anyways.
The devil's highway, man.
Yeah.
Just pick the road all the way down. It could be. Maybe it's the week that it happens to be all road teams winning. Who knows?
I'm finishing out at home, though, with my last 3 picks. All right. New Orleans Saints take on the San Diego Chargers. Jared, you often talk about the games you won't watch. This is definitely on that list for me because New Orleans is awful.
San Diego's lost so many players, and Teo just went out with an Achilles injury. He's probably done the rest of the season. That's just another one in the bucket that's just dropped for them. And I just don't know how much Phillip Rivers can make up for. I'm going Drew Brees on the road in my, I don't know why I picked this game this way, pick of the week.
Pick of the week. I don't know why. I like it.
I mean, the San Diego just doesn't have any starters left. The Saints have starters. They're just not good. I don't know. This game sucks.
Well, the Saints might have home field advantage in this game. That's how it's worked out for the Chargers almost every other week. So, whereas Adam, and that's what I'm confused here. You said you're going with the home team the rest of the picks, but which one do you think is the home team between these two? User consensus, 64% with the Chargers, Saints 36%. Go New Orleans.
I'm picking Bizarro home team. I'm picking the Chargers only because Phillip Rivers to Travis Benjamin is a pretty dynamic connection there
for the deep ball.
Yeah, I like McCluster being in there. I think Melvin Gordon has done some good things so far this season, especially catching the ball out of the backfield. I just don't think the Saints can stop anybody, and the Chargers have hung points on a few people this year. I'm taking the Chargers on the road.
I feel good about that too.
Yeah.
The Chargers on the road.
Yeah. All right, guys. Chiefs at Steelers. Your beloved Chiefs, Brandon, take on the Steelers, who just laid an egg against the Eagles last week. Or are the Eagles really good? What's going on with the Steelers?
Why are you asking me this question? I was the one that told you at the top of the show that I have no idea what happened, and this is one of those games. That's
why I asked you the question.
Well, I'm going to throw it back to you. What the heck happened in that game? Because for the Steelers to only score 3 points against an Eagles team, you said you weren't sure about Carson Wentz. How are you feeling about him now?
I think he had another good game, but I remember RG3 beating Russell Wilson out for Rookie of the Year a while back, and how'd that turn out when it was all said and done? Like, even one season does not a career make. And that's fine. I like Carson Wentz, and I'm rooting for the kid. I think he's got the tools to be a very good quarterback. It looks good so far. I think the league will continue to gather tape on him. The confusing thing to me with the Steelers is that I don't understand how Philly's defense is good. Between Malcolm Jenkins and Fletcher Cox, I got that. Those are two really good players. And then what? I mean, I just don't see the rest of the town on there, but yet somehow hold the Steelers to 3 points. I think the Steelers just had a clunker game. I think that's what that is at the end of the day. And so Steelers taking on the Chiefs. I think Big Ben Big Ben throws it deep. Alex Smith throws it 6 inches every time. And for me, I'll take the guy who's at least willing to take the risk down the field. I'm going with the Steelers.
Yeah, I have to go Steelers on this one too. The Chiefs, Jared mentioned it earlier, having 8 times the ball turned over to you from the Jets, and you only manage 24 points. That's a red flag to me. And going on the road against a Pittsburgh team that is going to be fired up after getting blown out and embarrassed by their home state rival, I think the Steelers are going to come roaring back. 79% with the Steelers to 21% with the Chiefs. I like Pittsburgh.
I think with Pittsburgh, you're kind of starting to see a bit of a chink in the armor, especially on defense. They're giving up a lot of plays, especially when a quarterback extends a play. We saw Carson Wentz do that numerous times last weekend, and that's kind of where their fault was on defense. But you're also starting to see the lack of depth for the Pittsburgh Steelers receivers. He has Antonio Brown, and that's it. He's got one other deep threat, and that's making Big Ben force a lot of throws. And when he doesn't have a lot of room to run or extend plays, and he forces things, he does tend to throw a lot of picks. He's done it his entire career that way. But their defense is what is really in question to me. Pittsburgh's defense has not been what I kind of thought it was going to be. But yeah, Kansas City, I mean, only that many points off of 8 turnovers, that's pretty putrid. I'm looking forward to seeing Marcus Peters against Antonio Brown. I think that's going to be a great matchup. Peters is only in his second year, but he's got 4 picks in 3 games. I'm still going with Pittsburgh because I don't think they're going to throw out a clunker like that. I do think they're better than Kansas City.
Yeah, especially with it being in Pittsburgh. I mean, that's where I'm going there. So, of course, the Chiefs will win. All right, guys, Monday night game, last game of the week. Eli Manning and the Giants with that vaunted receiving core go on and take on the Vikings in what has turned out to be one of the best defenses in football, for sure. You got your Boomer Sooner in this game, Brandon? Are you going Vikings again?
I do. When you talk about the 3 best defenses that have been showing up consistently to this point of the year, you got to go Seahawks, Broncos, and Vikings would be the 3rd team. I think those are your 3 top defenses, and I think that's what's going to take to win this game against the Giants. For the Vikings to go on the road in Carolina, that's really impressive to me. Now they're coming back home to take on New York. 79% going with the Vikings, 21% Giants. I like Minnesota.
Yeah, Brandon, like you said, I mean, Seahawks, Denver, Minnesota, I think in that order you could say what the defenses are like right now. But one thing Minnesota did really well against Carolina is they disguise a lot of coverages and blitzes really well. I mean, they're moving, they're active, they're all over the place. And if there's one thing Eli Manning likes to do, it's not read a defense and throw picks, especially in the end of a game. And against a good defense on the road, he's not going to make it happen. This isn't one of those random Eli games where he's going to win it. I'm going Minnesota at home.
Well, the Vikings pass rush is pretty darn good. And Eli,
they lead the NFL in sacks right now,
and Eli gets flustered, and that's really what it boils down to me. What I really think is the main story of this game is I'm ready for the rematch. I don't know if you guys have heard this. Odell Beckham is going to fight another kicking net. So I want to see the rematch of that, because I don't know if you guys saw that, man. He hits the kicking net with his helmet in last week's game. The kicking net comes back and hits him right in the fucking face. And I laughed so hard, I about fell off the couch. There is not a more deserving person than that diva to have that happen on national TV. That was unbelievable. And you know what? In the rematch, I'm taking the kicking net again.
Yeah, I got the kicking net all day.
But I'm taking Vikings. I think it's going to be... I think that Giants defense isn't as good as it looked the first few weeks. And that'll allow Sam Bradford to get just enough going to where they win this game.
Well, I think that does it for this week's picks. What do you say we get into some news?
News and interesting topics from around the NFL.
Jared has some really good topics that I know Jared must have really good topics this week.
Well, okay, so I've been listening to a lot of sports news, especially on the NFL, and there's a lot of talk about Carson Wentz versus Dak Prescott, which bugs me to no end because I don't think it's even close. I know we talked about Carson Wentz a little bit. I have my own opinions. What do you guys think about the comparison between these two guys?
I think they're both very talented guys. I think the big difference is that you saw Carson Wentz play closer to a pro-style offense in college, so he's a little more pro-ready. Whereas Dak Prescott, I think, has all the skill sets to do exactly as well as Carson Wentz, but coming out of basically that Tebow system at Mississippi State. So I think the learning curve for Dak Prescott has been steeper, but I think they're both very quality quarterbacks. And, man, I don't think you go wrong with either one of them. And, you know, if you're going to ask me, if it costs you as much as it did the Eagles to get Carson Wentz, or you can have Dak Prescott in the fourth round, give me Dak Prescott. They're close enough to where I'll take it at that cost.
Yeah, it's tough to say when, I mean, in hindsight now, you would take it at that cost. But if you were the Browns at this point, aren't you kicking yourself for not taking Carson Wentz when you could have had Dak Prescott in round 2, 3, or 4? It just, if you're and maybe that's just because the Browns are terrible. I'm sure fans would probably rather have either one at this point. But I don't know. Which one now, if you had to redraft, would you take first? Maybe that's the better question.
I think I would take Carson Wentz just because, like Adam said, he came out of a pro-style offense in college. And he seems to have a really, really good pocket presence. He knows where blitzes are come from. He's been reading defenses really well. Now, I still think he's going to have several clunker games. You know, I mean, he hasn't played a really, really good defense quite yet. Once he does, I think you'll kind of start to see where he's at in his maturation of the NFL quarterback position. But I think he's better than Dak Prescott. But Dak Prescott is accurate when he does make his throws. It's going to take him a couple of years to be able to read a defense and go through his progressions. But I think at this point, Carson Wentz is 2 to 3 years ahead of him.
I think Dak gets through his progressions a little bit. I don't think it's as dire as you stated earlier that it's just one read and chuck it. I feel like he does get through his progressions to a degree.
No, he doesn't.
Okay. But basically, I think Dak has more help to start with, and I think that's made it a little easier for him out of the gate. But when I watch these guys in their college film, I had Dak Prescott rated ahead of Wentz. And look, it's splitting hairs at this point, I think. I mean, it's a little like the RG3 Russell Wilson debate in that first year. I mean, that was a hard debate to have. But these two guys are both built to play in the NFL. Mm-hmm. So, you know, their body's not just going to explode. And they don't have a Mike Shanahan, you know, behind the scenes trying to ruin the career of their star rookie quarterback.
Shanahan alone.
Dude, that guy's an asshole. That guy's an asshole when it comes to his quarterbacks.
But I guess with Dak Prescott, kind of this leads me into my next little question about this. So with what you're paying Tony Romo and the super awesome deal you get with this rookie quarterback and Dak Prescott, are Tony Romo's days numbered just because you know that you have some promise in this guy?
Well, I think for sure his days are numbered. When has he shown that he can be healthy over a long period of time? If the Cowboys were pretty smart, I think it would be time to drop Romo and really work on getting Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott, the future, the core of this team, onto the get them some experience. And then you can invest that money that you had in Romo. I don't know what he's got left in terms of guaranteed money or what that would do to their cap. But if they could get out of that contract relatively easily and invest that money on the defensive side of the ball, I think the Cowboys could turn into a team that could run away with that division, because we've seen that, well, the Eagles are doing actually a lot better than we expected. But maybe that's the team that they challenged, and it has to do with that Eagles defense to this point. And I want to talk more about this Eagles defense after this topic. But what do you think, Adam?
This is Tony Romo's last year. And whether or not if he can even come back and stay on the field for 5 more games at max. I mean, I don't understand why you would go with Romo beyond this year. Just proven, he's an older player and he's falling apart. I mean, at this point, get a 2nd and 7th round pick for Romo in a trade at the end of the season, and then save the money, reinvest and try to make that team a little stronger. Yeah, it's over for Tony. This is it. I mean, Jerry Jones loves him some Tony Romo, don't get me wrong, but I mean, he'll be driving him to the airport, like personally. Jerry Jones will. So yeah,
even if Tony Romo thinks he can still play, there are a lot of teams who would be willing to put in a little bit of money if they think they can win right now.
Yeah, like the Rams. They'd do it.
Yeah, looking at their cap hit, they could maybe get away with. They could save, I think, $5 million of what they owe Romo by cutting him after this year. But still, that's still not a whole lot. I don't know. It would be something. Yeah, it's something. And whether they would do it this year or after this season, for the going into the 2017 season. You do it at that point just to give Dak Prescott clarity,
just to make sure he's your guy.
Yeah. I think it's safe to say though that Romo will not be a Dallas Cowboy come 2018.
Mm-hmm. All right, I think you're right. What did you have to say about the Eagles, Brandon?
Eagles defense. We brought up the question earlier: are they really that good? Or is there something else going on? And when you compare this defense to what Chip Kelly had last year, they're not gassed anymore. They do, to this point of the season, after 3 weeks, they're on the field for almost 53 plays a game. They were at 71 plays per game over the course of 3 years under Chip Kelly. Having that much, these guys just must feel great. The fact that they don't have to run 20 more plays every week.
I think that's the biggest issue right there, is the fact that they're not on the field almost the entire game. Because, we've mentioned it in the podcast before this season. Running play after play after play as fast as you possibly can is not a sustainable way to win in the NFL, if it's even a way to win at all. And I think Chip Kelly proved that with the Eagles. And I think their defense, you're right, they're probably just like, man, this is great. We actually get to sit over here on the sideline for more than 30 seconds at a time. And so I think it's just it's the rest that's benefited them the most.
That must be the biggest factor. It's the only thing I can point to, because the personnel, I don't know, has gotten demonstratively better since Chip Kelly was there somehow this offseason. It's not like the Eagles went out and did their dream team thing again. So it's as good a theory as any, Brandon. I mean, that and the idea of playing for a new coach and feeling a little re-energized, maybe that's it. Maybe Doug Peterson is really a player's coach and the guys are really enjoying playing for him. That, and is it Jim Schwartz is now the defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles? I believe it is.
The Schwartz.
Yeah, the Schwartz. It's the power of the Schwartz. and that's basically what it is. Because I know he was a failure as a head coach, but
he's a good coordinator, though.
He's a dang good coordinator.
So going into this season, all of us, I think, picked the Giants because we felt it was their time. I'm curious to see if you guys are ready to switch that pick over to the Eagles, or looking at the next 5 games coming off their bye week, because the Eagles are on a bye this week. They have a stretch of games. The next 5 games, 4 of those games are on the road. on the road against the Lions and Redskins. Then they come back home to take on the Vikings and their tough defense. And then they go on the road again against Dallas and the New York Giants. So are you ready to put the Eagles as your number one team for this division? Or is this next 5 weeks going to be the test that you don't think that they're going to pass?
I think the Eagles may drop 2 of these games, but I'm not ready to give up on the Giants just because it's still their turn. Nothing has changed.
No, I'm not giving up because the Eagles are about to get some comeuppance. Like, that's what they're about to get. They played one good team in that stretch. I think found them on an off day. I'm not sold yet. I mean, maybe I'll eat my words on that, and that's fine because I don't care which mediocre team seems to win the NFC. Like, honestly, at the end of the day.
I agree. The one win over the Steelers that's kind of, I think, as we get down the road, it's going to seem a little bit fluky, but maybe not.
Only time will tell.
Well, when you put it that way, it's going to seem a little bit fluky. Unless it isn't.
Unless it isn't.
That's a really good point.
That's good stuff.
I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be right unless I'm wrong.
Exactly. My shit always works half the time.
60% of the time, it works every time.
Yeah. Cool, guys. Well, let's say we wrap this beast up for this week. I'm going to kick your ass this week, finally, because road teams prevail. And with that,
you will unless you don't.
And then I will. So, hooray, football.
Hooray, football.
And hooray, beer when it's delivered to your door.
Yeah.
Hooray, beer.
Screw UPS for not getting here on time.
Join us on Facebook at facebook.com/picksandIPA.